Hey Soul Babes, welcome to the Essence Podcast. I'm your host, Riss, and in this podcast, I love to dive into the world of creativity, holistic wellness, and spirituality. You can see me as your intuitive bestie here to help you gain the tools you need to unlock what some people might label Pandora's box. But in reality, this box is where your divine essence shines brightly, where it shines boldly. Together, we'll explore what it means to live authentically, unapologetically, and in alignment with your soul's purpose. And in this week's episode, I have a beautiful starseed on the podcast with me. Ziana is a soul sister.
We've had a lot of beautiful conversations together, so I'm honored to be here.
In your divine essence, you shine. In your divine essence, you thrive. I'm your host, Riss, and you're listening to Essence Podcast. So essentially what I really wanted to get you on here for was because you posted a post recently within this year where you pretty much had this picture that showed this other side of you. Like, you boldly expressed yourself in this way that people don't usually see you, especially on social media.
Yeah, for sure. My friend Daisy, she asked me, she threw these ideas out there, and I got to work with Akani, which she does her clothing. I was like, oh yeah, I'm all for it. She told me this idea that was going to be more of like a gothic style. And as most people know me, as Clarissa said, is I'm usually really girly. I love playing with my clothing, but I was really interested because I felt like it was going to be a part of me either way. I feel like everybody has that light and dark side of themselves. So I felt like it was a way to really express this other side of me. So I was really excited. I didn't really know how it was going to come out, but I was for sure going with it.
Okay, we're gonna get more into that, but I first want to just have everyone know your rising sun and moon.
So my sun is Gemini, and my rising is also Gemini, and then my moon is Aries. I actually have a lot of Gemini in my chart. It's pretty crazy. When I looked it up, I thought I typed something in wrong, but I was just like, hey, I got all these Gemini, and then my moon being Aries. Yeah.
Interesting. I feel like it felt like, okay, of course you did this photo shoot because you are a Gemini. Like, there's this other side of you that like is always there, just as loud as the side that you portray.
Right.
And I think that was just a beautiful way to like show yourself in a different way that nobody really sees you in.
Yeah, exactly. And I think we all have these like many layers to ourselves that sometimes we keep hidden, or we express the ones that we are comfortable with. We show those to people, but there's also those other layers that only your close people know, or even just yourself that you just keep to yourself.
Yeah, it's like that idea of like we wear many hats and like masks, and we have one that we wear when we're at home, and then we have one that we wear when we're with our friends, and then there's another one that slightly changes with our family and compared to when we're at work. Like, there's different versions of ourselves, and I feel like the social media aspect of it all, like being presented there, was like everyone that pretty much follows you, whether being family, friends, or whomever, like they all get to see this person that is you in a different way, and not just an expression that is like, oh, I'm talking this way, that's different, but it's like the actual clothing that you're wearing is like, it's different.
It was super bold.
It's
super
so bold.
Out there.
If you don't mind, I will post like a few of the photos. They're beautiful. I love how they were taken. I love how you presented yourself with it, and how you embodied it. Even the words that you expressed, how you felt wearing the outfit, was very beautiful to hear, because it's something that we can all relate to. We all have, again, just these different versions of ourselves, and we only get to show only one side of ourselves because we were sort of taught that way.
Right. It is true. Like, even when you look back at your kid self, you were a certain way, and as time passes, you grow into this different person. I felt like that version of myself, I feel like that photo shoot itself, like, really help me show that, like, visually, you know, like, hey, yeah, you know, even though I don't show this, but this is also a part of me too. So, yeah.
I feel like as a child, I definitely was able to express myself in a bold way. Like, I wore different things that were like with the style per se. Like, you know, you wear these clothing and then you attract the friends through that clothing because then you're like, hey, yeah, I like that same style too. And part of me loved to like listen to rock music, alternative music, and I had a friend that loved that too. So just with her, I was able to embody that together. And then I would kind of switch gears and go back to my poppy friends. Or like, you know, music expresses itself too. So it's like a sync moment. And I remember like I would wear things that I thought were just like an expression of myself. And remembering comments of people or like looking at me or like, why are you wearing that? Or why are you into that?
Definitely.
And I feel like that's sort of, well, she's also from Stockton, my hometown, and it's very like black and white in a sense of expression. It's like everything is sort of similar to each other, and if you stand out, it's like people poke fun at it.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. And the people that aren't afraid to step out of their comfort zone, you notice that they're, you know, happy with themselves, and they don't, not to say that people aren't happy with themselves that don't express themselves, but they're not afraid to go into that, step out of that comfort zone and be different. And I guess it'd be beautiful to have other people be like, feel inspired by these other people that aren't afraid, and connect other people that, hey, it's okay to just be yourself. If you want to wear that, wear that. Or, you know, I think clothing is a really big way to step out there, you know, and be bold or whatever you're trying to express.
Right. And that goes in hand with how you explained it in the caption. And that's the reason why I wanted to have you on here, because you said this idea of the comfortable versus the uncomfortable, which was like a very big, bold statement, is because we always fall into this place of teeter-totting between like being comfortable, being uncomfortable. How much do we want to be uncomfortable? Can our little souls take it? And like, you know, there's part of this, I don't know if you had this in the back of your mind of like, if I post this, like, you know, what am I going to receive from?
Definitely. Yeah. I definitely had my, like, okay, this is something people aren't used to, I guess.
Yeah.
But then the part that pushed me was like, well, this is a part of me. So regardless how people take it, like, it's me, so I shouldn't hide from myself. I should just showcase it, and what people are gonna think, you know, I don't have no control over that. So
and of course, and it's just something super simple and subtle. It's like, it's an outfit.
Right.
But it's so like, it goes deeper than that, because again, it just stems from different ways of how when we step out of the norm of things, like how it sort of subconsciously still affects us.
Yeah, definitely. It's like, always there, like, it's in the back of your mind, you know, even though you don't want to think those things, it's there, you know? So
it's like lingering around. That's sort of, I felt the same way in my own, just like simply just living my life in a way of like more spiritual, what I post and everything in the beginning, because I received like comments from my family members of how I was presenting myself, or like I posted my tarot cards or different things, how they took it was like,
it wasn't something they were comfortable in.
Right. Yeah. It was like a shocker in the family, and I'm like, this is something super simple and subtle, but why do I also have to feel like, oh my God, defensive on the fact that like I'm showing myself?
And you can't help but feel like you want to kind of just go back in that shell. But I feel like it's even more powerful to be like, well, you know, this is me, you know, take it or don't. And I think that's the power move you feel for yourself. Like, even though you have that feeling, because I've had that feeling too, where I'm like, okay, I know this is not something people are used to, but you can't help but feel a little powerful too.
Yeah, powerful.
You know? Yeah, like, well, I'm stepping into myself more by showcasing this.
I love that. It's that power you're gaining back for yourself. And I believe that's very true. It like, you grasp onto that idea. And I think that's was the power dynamic of the struggle that I was trying to like comprehend for myself when I was expressing myself. I didn't really receive those words in my head, nor towards anybody telling me that until like that realization of like, wow, I am gaining a part of myself back by presenting that side of me that I've been keeping sort of just to myself or to people that I'm close to. But it's like you want the whole world to know who you are.
Like, this is me. So, because I can definitely relate to that. Like, you know, I feel like we sometimes wear these labels that people put onto us, like, well, that's not something you used to do, or, you know, as you're growing, you're shedding these layers too.
Yeah.
And, like, for instance, for me, like, I was always a shy girl. Like, I was really to myself. I didn't really talk to anyone, even though it's just, I think it was more so because people are like, oh, she's so quiet, she's shy. And it's not that I wasn't shy, I was shy, but it's like I was also not shy, and I was also all these other things. But since people like portrayed me as like, oh, she's the shy girl, she's quiet, she doesn't talk, you know, I wore that. And as I got older, I was like, I don't want to just be the shy girl. Like, yes, I'm shy, but I also love to talk and talk and talk. And I also like to, you know, like as a kid, like playing outside, meeting people, you know, that was just also a part of myself. And I started embracing that. And it felt weird because I'm like, again, people aren't used to this side of me. And, you know, like, oh, you know, you talk now. You hear all these little comments like, oh, you know, I thought you never talk or whatever, all these things. And then that power again just fights back to that, like, well, this is who I'm becoming. So,
I get you. That's so funny you say that, because I just had a conversation with my boyfriend, with Sergio, and it's funny because we were talking about something in our childhood, or like how we felt as children. And for myself, I was always seen as this quiet girl in my family. But I also saw it as like I was selective on like who I wanted to present myself to, because I found myself as like, when I open up to you and I show you who I am, that's a vulnerable side to myself too.
Definitely. Yeah. I can definitely relate to you. I was definitely selective of who I wanted to share my thoughts with. And I was always super observant too. Like, I would always observe the crowd and like, ooh, okay, like I see how they think, and, you know, I can relate to that. Or, you know, sometimes it's like you don't want to be in the gossip. You don't want to talk badly about people. So I just found no interest to engage, I guess. So I would rather just be quiet, but I guess being quiet made me the shy
it labeled
kid.
you. And I think that's what people we get stuck in our labels. We get stuck in this mindset of like, we have to be this way or do this or be this, you know. And I think that stems back from like even just our parents subconsciously thinking this in society, because from the day we were born and we know our gender is automatically boy, girl, or black. Oh, sorry, not black or white, but more like pink or blue. You know, like it's just like you are a certain thing at a certain time, and you know, as you develop, then you'll pick up these traits and understand who you are.
Exactly.
But it's still molded in us of this like like division between what we
this
are,
or that,
this
or
that.
yeah, and it's like you can be both.
You could be anything.
Yeah, you can be anything.
And you can flippity flop your whole life, you know?
And you know, if you feel this way this day, you might act this way. So it's just, it really depends. It's not like you're stuck as this one person forever. And I think that's where people will find their growth of like, okay, like, I don't like being this way. Or like, sometimes we carry these even bad habits. It's like, okay, this isn't working for me. Like, I need to start changing some things. You know, you're going to obviously fail. You're going to get back up. You're going to fail, get back up. But then like, you see this new version of yourself, and then obviously people that are close to you, they're not used to that.
No.
But then it's like, well, if they truly love me, then they'll learn
to adjust.
Yeah, they'll learn to adjust and live this version of myself too.
Yeah.
So
absolutely. Yeah, that's something like I feel like I would teach my kids too, is that idea that we change.
Yeah.
We don't stay the same. Because that's something that's embedded in all of us. Yeah. I know I get caught up in that moment too, where I'm like, that person's a little different, but not too much. But enough to notice, like, oh, I'm catching myself that I'm observing somebody evolving. But we may not, like, need to actually be in that person's life in that moment of evolution. There's, like, a time and a season for everything and everyone. And if we don't feel called and connected to it, then we can give ourselves that moment to break apart.
Yep. And sometimes that's a good thing, I think. Because sometimes I'll catch myself doing that, too, where I'm like, you know, now I'm like, it's kind of funny because it's like the opposite now from when I was younger, you know. Now, like, people see us like the super bubbly and, like, you know, spontaneous person, which is a part of me. But then I catch myself where I'm like, okay, I just need to just be away. I just need, like, to recharge. And then people always quickly assume like, oh, like what's wrong with her, or something's going on with her, but it's like it's nothing. It's just another part of me that needs to come out right now, and you know, those layers will come and go.
Oh,
so.
for sure. And I think a lot of it too has to come with being like, how am I gonna say this? It's like, also I love solitude, so there's a part of me that knows like when I need to retreat. When I've been around people too much and I've gathered too much energy, or I've been around different places, I can't keep going. When we're hanging out and I can feel present enough that I'm all there, and and I love to be all there when I'm with people. You know, I'm all yours. We're in this together of energy, talking, flowing, whatever. But then I need time to retreat back.
Right.
And that's when little hermit me, or like, you know, I just go super quiet, and I just can't stay like on all the time. And I've learned that, and that's probably how I was as a child. Maybe I was around people that I just like drained my energy. That I didn't feel like talking to them.
Yeah, like you just need your moment, or just to stay away, you know.
So subconsciously the energy and like our body and everything, it's been there.
It's always been there. It's
always been. And we've always, like, as a child, I feel we responded more to it, but we may had a parent or somebody in our life that was like pushing us towards our discomfort, which comes to that, that we stay like, nah, I want to just retreat and come back to my comfortable self, because we were forced to be in maybe uncomfortable situations.
Yeah, and somewhere you didn't want to be, or someone you don't want to talk to, you know, because you definitely, I feel like I can connect to that too. Like when I was younger, I felt like I was always super observant, even at a young age. Like I've always been like, I don't know, like, oh, you know, so they feel like upset and like no one else would notice, you know, things like that. So I feel like I can connect with that too, by like, I didn't really know what I was feeling, but like now as you get older, you learn about like spirituality and like how that all like connects, and like you said, to recharge you just need these moments. So it's really, you got to listen to your body.
You do, because then you'll respond in like an aggressive way. You'll respond in a way that was like, you just could not hold space, and the anger, the like whatever that comes out is not that it's valid. Pretty much like every emotion at that point is valid, because your body is responding in a way that's like, we need to stop, we need to go, we need to take care of ourselves. Instead of like being around somebody that's like, oh God, we don't want to be here, we don't want to do this, and they're giving us a reaction, but instead that reaction is like, we are choosing to respond that way. Let's listen to our body.
Right, that's true.
I feel like pretty much that's the gist of that. But also just wrapping it around like the idea of like changing and evolving through that. I find myself, I talked about this on a different episode where in the beginning of my podcast journey, where I brought the idea of like, we have different outfits.
Oh,
like, we have different layers of ourselves. Some of them were like, oof, this is rough. Or, you know.
But you need those too, you know, you need those because you're like, oh, okay,
That's part of the experimentation of finding yourself. Yeah. And then you realize, like, for myself, I realized that I had that in me of like, where I had my own style, but I also was like, let me just try this trend. You know, let's see if it works. And if some of them do work for me, some of them don't. But I had that in me as a child, and then sort of I lost that a little bit through like growing up in my early 20s, college time. Like I was more like, okay, what's gonna find me like attractive? Like what am I gonna look really hot and cute in?
Right.
Like, that was the mindset. And then the more that I look at it, I'm like, like I'm glad I tried it and I did look cute or whatever, but honestly, like, it's like coming back again to that full circle moment of like, I'd rather be in my like
because
skin.
you also went through a version of yourself, you know. I'm sure like when I reflect on like these old styles, like I know that I was a certain way, and then I grew out of that, and then here's this new style, and then here's a new version of myself, you know. So like through these like weird, even like those cringy, you know, outfit days or whatever, it's like, but you learn something out of that. It's like, you know, it's like I guess that layer of skin, and then you go to this new, you know, skin or whatever.
I mean, and then it goes, you can see it in your closet. You can see your skin in your closet of like, damn, I'm getting tired of this skin. Like,
Yeah.
I need a new skin.
Definitely.
Yeah. And I've noticed that for myself because I'm still, it's so crazy because the more that I was like healing through my journey of like just releasing whatever I had picked up through my life pretty much and through my early 20s, it was still in my closet. And like slowly I've been like revisiting, like letting things go. I mean, obviously I don't want to let everything go all at once because then I'll have no clothes. I have to buy it more. And I don't really have that type of fluidity right now. But, you know, to be thankful for what I have still, I do my best to be creative within the borders of what I have to still make more of my new self emerge, but understanding and accepting a lot of my old self is still there.
Yeah, and also like letting go, like you said, like slowly decluttering, but not all at once. And I think that goes back with like growing. It's not all going to happen all at once. You know, you have to slowly shed these things, and then and then you, like you said, you start putting these new clothing up. So it's like these new version. You're making room for your new parts of yourself to push through.
I was also seeing that like whenever I would pull like a card, like an oracle card, and it was like you're metamorphosing or like, you know, you're changing into this butterfly, and I always thought like I don't see anything physically happening. Like I still feel like a little caterpillar. Like what is happening? But every time I would pull it, I'd be like, what the heck? Like I don't physically feel this way, but then I realized like everything is energy and everything again takes time. This like it all starts with like the mind, the thought, the like idea, and then slowly you emerge into it. And I realized that my mind, my mentality, my lifestyle internally is metamorphosizing. The beauty is like the brains of like the
and
idea,
your spirit and everything, and how you react, how you act, how you feel. You know, because that's one thing I like. When I catch myself reacting to something different, I'm like, wow, like the old me would never like
would never do that.
Would never do that. Gosh. But then you find these little breakthroughs like, wow, like I am growing. Like you said, like I would have done this so different. I would have reacted so different, or I would have felt totally different. Like now, you know, certain things you're just unfazed or able to just be like, okay, well, that's not going to ruin my energy. I'm just going to move on with my day, you know?
I'm going to react and respond differently because, and I think that's the thing, what happens to a lot of what experience does, it just toughens you up a little. It gets your skin a bit more tough to be like, okay, that does not bother me anymore. Like I've learned to forgive or let it go, whatever I needed to do to move on.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not so like, you know, I feel like when people think like, oh, like, you know, that she's not phased, you know, she's cold or anything. It's just you have boundaries for yourself where you're not going to let someone's mood or the way someone acted ruin your day or your own mood, you know. Because I was really sensitive to other people's energies, you know, especially when I was younger, you know, I would feel it deeply. But now I'm just like, I can only control myself.
Right. You can only control your own reactions, and that's not any of your business.
And it's very peaceful. Like, when you get to that point, you're like, okay, like, this is growth, you know?
For sure. The growth process is everything. And I think it slowly just all bundles together with the idea of, like, when you just give yourself that little push of uncomfortability, you know? Like, something super simple and creative like how you did is, like, the best way you can possibly do it. With friends that support you. Your support group is everything.
Yes, definitely.
Because if your friends or your people aren't on board, then you feel alone.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's definitely important. Who you keep around is crucial, you know, and to have good energy, you can feel yourself like, you know, you have the support, you know, you're capable. And of course you have that, you always want to have that just for yourself. But when you have that support group, it pushes you more to like, yeah, I can do this. Yeah.
It's such a beautiful thing. Yeah. Just taking your time to that idea of like, slowly but surely, like you are not coming out of this uncomfortability alone. Like you have people with you that are in their own predicament in life, having to get out of their own like way at the same time.
Yeah, and it's inspiring to others too. You know, they see that, wow, like because I've gotten that a lot. Like last year, I feel like was a very like growing moment for myself. And it was so nice to hear, you know, not that I needed it, but it was nice to hear people like, oh, like, you know, Z, you're glowing, or what are you doing differently? And it was just like, I just been working on myself. Like, honestly.
It's been doing me.
But yeah, it's always nice to hear those things from the people that support you and that really care about you. It makes you feel, it fulfills you, you know, even though like you don't do it for others, but when you hear it from the people that you love, it just feels good.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this conversation we had. I love that you are continuing to like put yourself out there and express yourself on social media, because it's like I don't talk to you all the time, so when I do find out something, I see it through social media. And I mean, that's a beautiful way of connecting to people.
Definitely.
Is by the creative aspect, you know, like really checking up on someone and be like, wow, I love to see them be able to thrive in their creative self, and also be with their family, or, you know, be able to travel and all these beautiful things. So it's beautiful. And then like reading the captions on the way that it is being taken or portrayed is everything.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, thank you, Soul Babes, for listening. And if you would like to hear more about being in your essence and thriving in your creativity and just fully emerging into your soul self, then you can find more videos of Essence Podcast on Spotify, YouTube, and on Apple Podcasts. Also, you can follow me on TikTok and Instagram at Essence of Riss. And if you would like to check out her page,
it's gonna be Instagram is Ziana Z, so ZIANAZII.
Yeah, I'll put a link below of all the stuff that you need to take a look. So thank you again, and we'll see you in the next one.